Arizona loses a big transfer, but could there be somebody else that is waiting in the wings that might be just as good? We're going to find out.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we got a lot to get to, but first, this show is brought to you today by LinkedIn. Check it out, LinkedIn. Okay, so the portal is here, obviously. Everybody knows that, and there's some things that we certainly need to remember when it comes to the transfer portal. That basically this is essentially going to be game on all season long, game on all year long. When the portal opens, guys are going to be leaving. Some guys who are really, really good, some guys who probably aren't that good. But either way, people need to get used to this being something that is going to occur and going to be on a very regular basis. And Arizona obviously has been hit with this a couple different times already. Look back at it. And some of them, some of them were no understandable. Jonah Coleman following Jed Fish to Washington, obviously. And then you also had Deuce Davis following him there, and you had Isaiah Ward following him as well. Those were just things that, that's just part of the deal. When a coach leaves, a lot of times those players leave. But then you also had somebody like a Tia Savea, who a defensive tackle who decided that he was going to leave and go to the University of Texas. Those were three hits on the D line for sure. And you got to keep in mind too that a big part of the Arizona success last year was that their defensive line was deep. It was good, but it was also deep. There was a lot of players that could transfer in and out. And you always kind of felt comfortable that players were going to be fresh. I mean, it was a 7 or an 8-man rotation. And when a lot of teams got really tired at the end, Arizona was still going because they had players that could play, obviously. So that's something that you obviously need to keep in mind when you're thinking about the University of Arizona and what they were dealing with last year. But when the portal opens back up, it's going to be a ton more stuff, and Jed Fish is going to be at the forefront of that. We will be getting back to Jed Fish here in a minute as to what he has been up to. But the Arizona's got a lot of players in this transfer portal that teams would like. A lot of teams would love to have Tacario Davis as one of their starting corners. I mean, Tacario is an NFL-type talent, and he's also somebody that can make a lot of plays on the ball. I mean, look at it this way. If he was able to catch the ball at all, he would probably be amongst the nation leaders, probably the nation leader in interceptions, because pass deflections, everything that he was able to do is some next level stuff. And a lot of times you don't really see that with players, in the at the college level. Factor in that he's also 6'3". He's a bigger dude. That also obviously goes into account as well. But he's done a pretty good job. And he decided that, yes, he was going to enter the transfer portal. But what he decided that I think was really, really cool on his part was that he was going to give this coaching staff a chance. So this wasn't something like Ephesians Prysock. And again, people need to understand that I don't really care if a player goes wherever they want to go, because in this day and age, coaches pretty much have full movement. I think players should be able to have movement as well. Ephesians Prysock was a crummy one because he was trying to sell his jersey here at the U of A all the way up to the last second when he knew that he was going to Washington. And then he pretended that he doesn't get any money from that, when in actuality he does. That was crappy. Just leave. Again, Deuce Davis, I think, just did it the right way. He just went ahead and he just bounced. Isaiah Ward, kind of the same way. So I give him credit on that. But at the same time, we do need to talk about, the players that did give him a chance. Listen, Big Bill Norton, who has entered the transfer portal, most likely going to end up at Texas. He was a player that he gave this coaching staff a chance, and he just decided that this really wasn't the best fit for him. And, that's okay. Again, not every coaching staff is going to be the best fit for every single player. So, again, I wish BBN nothing but the best. and I think that he's going to have a pretty good impact. I like BBN. For the people out there that don't think that he's going to be a loss, I would disagree with that, because yes, you might look at his stats and be like, well, there's not a ton there, whatever the case may be. But when he was in there, he was a stalwart in the defensive at the defensive line spot, and that's something that you can't really quite quantify, and that he could take up multiple blockers, and he was really good. He did a lot of the dirty work that a lot of players just really didn't want. So BBN is definitely a loss. Wish him well at Texas. I don't know that this coaching staff was necessarily as big on BBN as maybe I was. We'll find out. Now, we will talk about coming up some players that they might be able to bring in from San Jose State, and that's something that will obviously be in the cards as well. But overall, though, I mean, it's a hit. It's a hit to the depth, because you also know that right now there are some players that this coaching staff really does like. And obviously, obviously some of these players are a little bit different. Isaiah Johnson is somebody that has really caught the coaching staff's eye. Isaiah Johnson is an interesting player because, again, he was he came from Chandler Hamilton, had some decent offers out of Chandler High School, had some decent offers out of high school, but, he came to Arizona, and you haven't really heard a ton about him. He has really impressed this new coaching staff, and he has been able to hop in there, and he has made an impact with these. With this new regime, and it looked like he was going to be getting. It looks like he's going to be getting some playing time, and that's obviously going to factor in to anybody's decision. Is, well, am I going to be able to get playing time here? It looks like he's going to be able to get some playing time, and BBN would probably be rotating in and out. You've obviously got Dotson obviously coming in from Syracuse as well. This was a player that was one of the best defensive linemen in the ACC. So it's not like he's coming in here from, playing at Texas State and doing really well. So again, there's that. Arizona's going to have some options. And another player that's probably going to factor in here at some point is Toya out of San Jose State. This is a guy who was an all-conference player. He's not here yet. I would imagine he ends up at the University of Arizona after some transfer issues clear. That's just a guess, but he probably would be a starter. And so if you're BBN and you're looking at it and you're like, all right, well, that's a guy that has a connection with the coaching staff. That's somebody that it makes sense that they're going to have some loyalty to. You get it. And then on obviously opposite, you can also put in a Ty on the inside as well as the defensive ends. You've also got a Trey Smith. You've also got some other guys as well. So yes, there are going to be losses. There's probably going to be some more, but I will say this: the Arizona coaching staff is cautiously optimistic about where everything stands with this, as opposed to, not losing the starters. Now, there are going to be some aspects to this, some unsavory characters that are going to be adding in here that we will be talking about here in a second. But again, I always want to keep saying that I don't mind any player that wants to leave. Cool, I get it, but wait till you enter the portal and then you're good to go. But first, LinkedIn. Okay, now everybody knows somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. You know it's somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. I know somebody that got a job. If you're in a business, you probably have hired somebody through LinkedIn, and the reason why is because LinkedIn works. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. Post your job for free. Again, you will thank me later on this because, again, it's reliable and it works. People that use LinkedIn generally go back to LinkedIn. There's a reason that it's been around, and there's a reason that everybody uses it. So again, check it out, linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege, and get in there, post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege, and you will be able to get some, if you're looking for a job, this is the place to be. If you're looking to hire somebody, this is also the place to be as well. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we need to talk a little bit about Jedd Fisch here. With Jedd Fisch, this is what you have to understand about Jedd Fisch, is that Jedd Fisch is going to stop at nothing to pulverize this Arizona football team. And he's not going now. I have no problem. You've got to try to get who you got to get. But I do think the part about this, though, that makes it a little bit unsavory is that he is absolutely, he is 1000% going in, and there is tampering going on. When somebody like Tom Duddleston puts that out, the XSID, for the longest of time, when Javier Morales puts that out as well, I am going to run with that on authority that Jedd Fisch is doing that. And again, Jedd Fisch he's an unsavory guy. I give Jedd Fisch a lot of credit for a lot of what he did here at the U of A, because Arizona is in a lot better shape than when Jedd Fisch left. Excuse me. Than when Jedd Fisch left. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think that's impossible to make the case that it is not. But this is also a guy who had his agent call people trying to spread disinformation that, well, he had to leave because Arizona had a contract talk with him since October. That was all crap. George Reitzer was the one that ran with it. Nobody else who knew anything here on the ground ran with it because it wasn't true. So Fisch, instead of just leaving, taking a better job, I get it, and Washington's a better job. Instead of just taking it and leaving, he had to basically lie on his way out. He had to be slippery about the whole thing. And that is, I think, what drives somebody like myself up a wall, is that there's nothing wrong with taking that job. Just do it the right way. He didn't do it the right way, and I think that's why this city, quite frankly, I think that's why this city hates him, is that he went about doing things, and he did things in a very underhanded manner. He's doing that again with the transfer portal. There's tampering that's going on. Anybody behind the scenes will tell you that there is tampering going on. So it's going to be very important for this coaching staff to be able to hold on to these players. But I got to give this coaching staff a ton of credit, because there's a lot of dudes on this team that would be very, very nice fits for about anybody in the country. Whether that's obviously everybody knows about Noah Fafita, you know about T-Mac, but then on the line, Jonas Sabanea could start anywhere that he wanted to. Wendell Moy could start at a lot of different places. And then you go on the defensive side, Jacob Manu could start at a lot of different places. There's a lot of guys on here. Takario Davis, the same thing. And these guys have stayed. There's been a real loyalty factor here to the University of Arizona that in this day and age, I think is really, really rare. And it's something that I think we need to give these guys a lot of credit for, because not everybody would have stayed. As a matter of fact, you look at how the portal has gone down. Like I said, there's a lot of players that would have left. So Arizona is going to have to do what it can to hold on, but there is a cautious optimism that they are going to be able to hold on. Now, again, if you lose somebody like a Matthew Lato, who, by the way, is good, he is going to be the last Glendale Apollo kid. He's going to be a good player wherever he is. If you lose somebody like that, yeah, that's a bummer, but it's not like the same as losing some of those frontline players there that I think so many people thought that was going to happen with the University of Arizona. And so that's kind of where that is with that. Jedd Fisch, keep your grimy hands away, because, again, it's I don't know that anybody should be surprised, but look at Washington's roster. They're not going to be very good next year. So, Fisch is going to do a lot of things he can to try to get players in here that he can, and it's going to be up to Arizona to be able to hold them off. But one thing that Brent Brennan, I think, has done, and that University of Arizona has done, is that they've been fairly competitive when it comes to NIL, and you got to give a lot of the credit there to Noah Fafita and to T-Mac, because these players are next level type dudes that could be getting paid a lot of money. Umar Ballo type money. By the way, huge shout out to Umar Ballo, leader of men. He's going to get nearly $1 million by going to the University of Indiana. And honestly, he deserves it. I will be rooting for him. I'm glad that I think that Mount Crevis has higher potential, but I am happy for Umar Ballo, because I think that he is going to a place where I think in the Big Ten, where he's going to be able to contribute. I think he's going to be able to play at a pretty high level, and you get $1 million in the process. Umar Ballo deserves that. Very, very good work there, Umar Ballo. So, but anyways, back to Arizona. Noah and T-Mac, they get good NILs, obviously, and they should get good NILs because of the kind of contributors they are to this football team. But they've also spread it around a little bit, so it's made some of the other players be able to get a little bit more money in the process. And I think that's something that is, that's very good, and it also just kind of shows you too that this is a team that there's a lot of loyalty when it comes to this squad, and and guys who guys who I think just kind of get it in the grand scheme of things. That's something that I think that gets kind of lost in this day and age. But you also got to remember this about the portal, that, what taketh, you give it, whatever that term is. Arizona is going to lose some players, but Arizona's also going to be able to get some players as well. The big thing about the portal and on NIL is that, yeah, you can lose some guys, but you're also going to be able to gain some players as well. Arizona has 15 open scholarships. They are going to be able to attack the portal. There's going to be good players that are going to enter, and Arizona, I think, is going to have a very good chance of being able to keep quite a few of these players and add some starters. Listen, this team does need depth at certain positions. I mean, we talked about it to start the show. Look at the defensive line. The defensive line was the big reason the defensive line was so good last year was not necessarily just the starters. It was because they could keep bringing in players. They could keep bringing in guys. Arizona right now does not have that depth. You're going to have to address that in the portal. And then another one, you look at the corners. Last year, Arizona with Ephesians Prysock, Tacario Davis, and Traden Stukes, 3 very, very, very good corners. You lose Prysock to Washington, but you also have you've also got an opening. I think Arizona is going to try everything possible to be able to fix that opening, and I think that they'll be able to get a good guy. Somebody like Josh Shaw, or Jordan Shaw, who came in from Indiana. That was a loss. I don't think that there's any way around it that was a loss. But, Arizona's it's going to be up to this coaching staff. They got some money to play with, and they got open scholarships to be able to play with. I think that was also something that was very good by Brent Brennan, was to bring in players that fit what he wants, but also to be able to keep that scholarship, to be able to keep those positions open. Because by keeping those positions open, you're able to bring in some more guys. I think that's something that Arizona has done a very, very nice job of. And again, I think you're going to be probably getting a guy from San Jose State or two still, but there's also some other positions. You look at say wide receiver. Arizona's loaded at wide receiver, but if you wanted to get a true burner, a true speedster, I could see Arizona going that route. At running back, Arizona's loaded. Arizona doesn't have to do anything else at running back because they already have the running backs that they need. And it's kind of a combination of everything, in that you've already got Quali Conley. You've already got a guy from New Mexico State coming in who's probably going to be the starter. Then you got Rayshon Speedy Luke, Jordan Washington, Brandon Johnson. You got a plethora of options, and something that I think Arizona fans should feel very good about, because again, when you've got depth, so you don't have to go after necessarily some of these positions. Now, another position you're probably going to have to go for some depth at is that quarterback spot. Listen, Noah Fafita will never come off the field, but one thing that you got to keep in mind, though, is that Braden Dorman is 4-star kid. Really glad he came back, but he's kind of an open book. You can't just have those two as your 2 scholarship quarterbacks. I think Arizona knows that, and I think Arizona is going to go out and they're going to look to rectify that situation, and I think they will be able to. Now, do I need a starter? No. Noah Fafita is going to be that starter, but I do need somebody that in an emergency situation can step in and be that guy, and I think Arizona will be able to get that. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of the portal and the madness that it is all, but first, FanDuel, my friends. Check out FanDuel. All right, here's the deal with FanDuel. All kinds of good stuff. You can bet. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Go ahead and bet, and you will thank me later. Because, again, you can bet before games. You can bet during games. You can bet futures, and your money's good. There's no funny business, which is the best part, because if you're watching a game that you have no interest in and you put a little bit of money in there, it's really nice knowing that that money is good. So check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. And again, this is, we're kind of basketball is winding down. College basketball is obviously over, but the NBA playoffs are here. Baseball's here. I don't care about baseball, but I do have a lot more interest in baseball if I am betting on it with FanDuel. So there is that as well. So again, check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Good stuff going on. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, but this Arizona Wildcat team, yes, they're going to have to fill some holes in the transfer portal, which I have no doubt that they're going to be able to, but this should be a good football team. This should be a really good football team. Now, are they going to be better than last year? I don't know, but there's every indication to believe that they should be every bit as good because, again, yes, you lost Jordan Morgan. That's a big loss. But I do believe that the line should be good. And I think Arizona is going to be able to address some of those concerns. Noah is back for another year. Obviously, you've got T-Mac. The running back position, I don't think is going to take a step back. Jonah Coleman, Michael Wiley, DJ Williams, they were all beasts. But I do think that Arizona is going to be more than fine at that running back spot. And they just got to be able to get depth. And you got to get a couple starters in the portal. But Arizona's also got the money. Arizona's also got the the openings, the scholarships to be able to play with some stuff. So, Arizona should be a top 25 team. And that would be a big thing for Arizona because the last time that Arizona had a back-to-back top 25 teams was 94, 95. And that 95 team was just, I think, was finished ranked 1 or 25 or something. So Arizona has never really been able to string together some consistency. If it was able to string together some consistency, that would be a very good thing, obviously, for all sides. And I think it makes it easier for Arizona to recruit. So, we're going to find out what everybody's really made of here, from Brent Brennan to the coaching staff to the players on the field, who's going to stay, who's loyal, or who's just looking for a different spot. BBN gave it a shot. He decided that he wanted to go somewhere else. I get it. If you're a coaching staff, that's pretty much all you can really ask for is another shot. And obviously that just didn't totally gel, but wish him nothing but the best. He did it the right way, and he was a good kid while he was here as well. I think he probably goes to Texas, and he plays for Johnny Nansen, and I think he'll probably do well there. But Arizona obviously has to take care of Arizona. It is intriguing that somebody like Isaiah Johnson has really kind of opened the eyes for this new coaching staff. Not only have they opened the eyes, but he's also shown, I think, that he could possibly be a starter. So we're going to find out more about that. And there's some other under-the-radar players. Again, Roberto Miranda is going to probably be your starting tight end. The guy can catch the ball. He's been good. And every time you go to practice, you're like, wow, there he is making another play. So those two dudes, people that we're obviously going to talk about. So on tomorrow's show, we are going to talk more about the tight end position because this is going to be a position that is going to be utilized to the extreme in a good way by Brent Brennan. There's going to be a lot of tight ends that are going to play. And some of the coaches have made the point too, where they're like, there were plays where we didn't have a tight end on the field, and we remember those plays. So that's a cool thing to see. But Arizona is going to be more than fine at the tight end position and the depth. Like I said, this should be a good team. And if it's not, then you kind of reevaluate because there's a lot of proven players on this roster and what they can bring. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to start talking about a little bit about the NFL draft coming up here as well. Arizona is going to have players that are going to be picked in the NFL draft, which is going to be weird, but it is going to be awesome as well because it feels like it's been absolutely forever since Arizona has had somebody that was chosen in the NFL draft. So there is all that. But as always, very much appreciate you guys making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. We will be back with you tomorrow. Bear down, back the A. And again, we're going to talk a lot of football and we're going to talk a lot of Arizona basketball coming up here next on Locked On Wildcats.